Imagine a universe where every particle hums with the potential for awareness, where the very fabric of reality resonates with the essence of consciousness. What if the secret to understanding our minds lies not just in the neurons firing in our brains, but in the quantum dance of microscopic structures within every living cell? This is the captivating world of Stuart Hameroff, a trailblazing professor at the University of Arizona, whose work at the Center for Consciousness Studies is rewriting the story of what it means to be alive and aware. Buckle up, because we're about to embark on a mind-bending journey through quantum physics, microtubules, and the origins of life itself. A journey that might just change how you see yourself and the universe. Stuart Hameroff's journey into the enigma of consciousness didn't begin in a hushed philosophy department or a sterile neuroscience lab, as you might expect. No, his odyssey started in a place seemingly far removed from such abstract ponderings, a cancer research laboratory. Picture a young, intensely curious scientist hunched over a microscope. He wasn't looking for the seat of the soul, but rather studying the intricate, almost magical process of cell division, mitosis. Imagine his focus, magnified 1,000 times, as he watched cells meticulously duplicate and share their chromosomes. What captured his profound attention were the elegant, dynamic structures responsible for this chromosomal ballet. The mitotic spindles. And what were these spindles made of? Tiny cylindrical lattices called microtubules, formed by a protein named tubulin. Now most would see these as mere biological girders, simple structural components. But Hameroff saw something more. He observed how these microtubules didn't just exist. They self-assembled with an almost intelligent precision, forming beautiful, highly organized patterns. It was as if they possessed an inherent blueprint, an innate capacity for order that transcended simple chemistry. At that moment, Hameroff has often recalled, a profound realization struck him. I realized these structures were special. It wasn't just their function in cell division, but their intrinsic nature, their capacity for organized complexity, that set them apart. This wasn't just a scientific observation. It was an epiphany, a moment where the mundane revealed a hint of the magnificent. Think about it. How often do we encounter something in our daily lives? Perhaps a spider's web glistening with dew or the intricate patterns of a snowflake, and dismiss it as just nature. Hameroff's experience is a potent reminder that sometimes the most profound secrets are hidden in plain sight, within the most unassuming of structures, waiting for a curious mind to ask, why? This initial fascination with microtubules didn't remain confined to the world of dividing cells. Hameroff soon learned that these remarkable structures weren't just transient players in mitosis. They were ubiquitous, forming the cytoskeleton, the internal scaffolding of virtually all cells. And crucially, they were especially abundant and uniquely organized within the brain's neurons. Unlike the relatively uniform microtubule arrays in other cells, those in neurons exhibited complex, stable arrangements, particularly in the dendrites and cell body, the very regions associated with information processing. This distinction was a vital clue. If these structures were so fundamental and yet so specially configured in the brain, could they be more than just cellular support beams? Could they, in fact, be the very architects of thought, the stage upon which consciousness plays out? This singular question, born from an observation of cellular mechanics, would ignite a lifelong quest, propelling Hameroff from the study of cancer to the leadership of anesthesiology, and ultimately to the pioneering and often controversial realm of quantum consciousness research. Consider the implications for a moment. Every fleeting thought, every cherished memory, every surge of emotion, every nuanced perception that makes up your conscious experience. What if it all traces back, in some fundamental way, to the orchestrated activity within these infinitesimally small tubes inside your neurons? We live in a world that often celebrates the grand and the colossal, overlooking the microscopic foundations upon which everything is built. Hamerof's journey is a testament to the idea that the answers to life's most profound questions, what am I? What does it mean to be aware? Might not be found in grand, sweeping theories alone, but by peering into the astonishingly complex, beautifully organized world of the very, very small. It invites us to ask, what microtubules in our own lives, what seemingly insignificant details might hold the keys to deeper understanding if only we looked closer? Hamerof's intellectual trajectory took a decisive and perhaps unexpected turn when he relocated to the University of Arizona. It was there he encountered the chair of the anesthesiology department, a meeting that would prove serendipitous. The chair, recognizing Hamerof's deep interest in cellular mechanisms, extended an invitation. Come do your residency with us. More than just an invitation, he handed Hamerof a scientific paper, a document that would act as a catalyst, crystallizing years of budding intuition into a focused hypothesis. This paper detailed a fascinating and, at the time, somewhat mysterious property of anesthetic gases. They selectively erase consciousness while leaving other vital brain functions, like breathing and heart rate, remarkably intact. And critically, the paper hinted at how they might achieve this, by interfering with microtubule function, specifically by causing their depolymerization or breakdown. For Hamerof, this was nothing short of a eureka moment. The connection was electrifying. If microtubules, these structures he had long suspected of playing a special role, were specifically targeted and disrupted by substances that extinguish consciousness, could they indeed be the biological switchboard, the very substrate for awareness itself? Anesthesia truly is a profound medical marvel and a deep philosophical puzzle. Think about it. You inhale a specific cocktail of gases, and the vivid, continuous stream of your subjective experience, your thoughts, your feelings, your sense of self, simply fades to black. Yet, your brain isn't off. Your heart continues to beat, your lungs draw breath, your body maintains its core physiological processes, and even reflexes can persist. It's not like a computer being unplugged. It's more like a specific program, the awareness program being selectively shut down. What is this awareness that can be so precisely targeted and temporarily abolished? Hamerof's subsequent research into this phenomenon unearthed something even more astonishing. The way anesthetics affect consciousness isn't unique to humans, or even to complex mammals. The effect is remarkably consistent across the animal kingdom, from vertebrates to invertebrates, and, intriguingly, even in plants. Imagine a Venus flytrap, that marvel of botanical responsiveness, quickly snapping shut on an unsuspecting insect. Under the influence of anesthetic gases, its ability to respond, to exhibit this rudimentary form of awareness of its environment, is diminished or lost. Consider a single-celled organism like an amoeba, which navigates its watery world, seeks food, and avoids threats. Anesthetics can impede these behaviors too. This universality is a powerful piece of evidence. It strongly suggests that consciousness, or at least the fundamental mechanisms that underpin it, isn't some late-stage evolutionary add-on exclusive to big-brained creatures like ourselves. Instead, it points to consciousness being a far more ancient, fundamental feature of life, rooted in biological processes that are as old as cells themselves, processes likely involving these ubiquitous microtubules. Why should this matter to you, beyond being a fascinating scientific curiosity? Reflect on a moment when you felt intensely, vividly aware. Perhaps the awe of witnessing a spectacular sunset, the profound connection in a heartfelt conversation with a friend, or the sheer joy of unrestrained laughter. That ephemeral, yet undeniable sense of you-ness, of being present and experiencing the world, might be intimately tied to the very same biological machinery that allows a humble amoeba to sense and respond, or a plant to orient towards sunlight. Hameroff's work, therefore, doesn't just challenge scientific dogma, it challenges our very perception of ourselves and our place in the web of life. It invites us to see consciousness not as a solitary peak scaled only by humans, but as a vast, interconnected landscape, a shared thread weaving through all living things. What would it mean for your daily life, for your interactions with the world, if you truly embrace the idea that you are part of a universal symphony of awareness, a resonance that connects you to the smallest microbe and the largest whale? How might that change your sense of responsibility, your capacity for empathy, your reverence for life in all its forms? The prevailing view in mainstream neuroscience for many decades has likened the brain to an incredibly complex biological computer. In this model, neurons are often depicted as the fundamental processing units, acting like simple binary switches, firing a 1 or not firing a 0. These signals then travel across synapses, the connections between neurons, forming vast networks that collectively give rise to thought, perception, and consciousness. It's a powerful and productive model, but Stuart Hameroff respectfully, yet radically, begs to differ. He argues that this view, while useful, is profoundly incomplete. A single-celled organism like a paramecium, Hameroff often points out, has no neurons, no synapses, no neural network as we understand it. Yet, it's an incredibly clever little creature. Picture a paramecium, a microscopic marvel, navigating its complex aquatic environment. It deftly avoids obstacles, actively hunts for food, finds mates, and even learns from experience, exhibiting surprisingly sophisticated behaviors. How does it achieve this without a single neuron to its name? The answer, Hameroff proposes, lies within the cell itself, specifically within its intricate network of microtubules. These structures, he argues, function as a kind of internal nervous system, a computational and information processing network within each individual cell. Imagine that paramecium again, a tiny speck of life teeming with purpose. Its microtubules, organized into complex arrays, aren't just passive structural elements. Hameroff and his colleagues suggest they are actively involved in processing information, perhaps through vibrations, wave propagation, or other quantum mechanical effects occurring within their tubulin subunits. We are only just beginning to scratch the surface of how these intracellular computations might work. Now, scale that idea up to the human brain. In our neurons, these microtubule networks are even more elaborate, more densely packed, and more uniquely organized. If a single cell can exhibit intelligent behavior using its microtubular network, what astonishing level of complexity and processing power might be occurring within the microtubules of our billions of neurons? To reduce a neuron, with its internal universe of microtubules, to a mere on-off switch, Hameroff contends, is a profound underestimation, an insult to its potential. It's like looking at a supercomputer and calling it a simple light switch. This perspective completely flips the conventional script on how we define and locate intelligence. If a single cell, devoid of a brain or nervous system, can think, make decisions, and learn using its internal microtubular machinery, it forces us to reconsider what intelligence truly is. It suggests that intelligence isn't solely the domain of large, complex brains. Rather, it might be an inherent property of life, operating at multiple scales, down to the very building blocks of our cells. It's a humbling thought, isn't it? It reminds us that the incredible capacity for thought, creativity, and problem-solving that we experience isn't just about the sheer number of neurons or the complexity of their connections, but also about the elegant, sophisticated information processing systems humming away quietly, unseen, at the microscopic level within each of those cells. So the next time you solve a tricky problem, come up with a creative idea, or make an intuitive leap, Take a moment to consider the microscopic symphony playing out inside your cells. Billions of microtubules, perhaps, orchestrating a dance of information that contributes to that very thought. How might this expanded perspective change the way you value your own mind, your own capacity for insight? Does it make you feel more connected to the fundamental processes of life itself, knowing that the same basic machinery driving a paramecium's quest for food is, in a far more complex way, underpinning your deepest reflections? In the 1980s, a period buzzing with new ideas about the limits of computation and the nature of reality, Stuart Hameroff encountered a book that would irrevocably alter the course of his research and connect his microtubule-centric view of cellular intelligence with the deepest levels of physics. The book was The Emperor's New Mind by Sir Roger Penrose, a world-renowned mathematical physicist. In this seminal work, Penrose mounted a powerful argument against the prevailing notion that human consciousness and understanding could ever be replicated by a classical computer, no matter how complex. True understanding, genuine creativity, the intuitive leaps that characterize human insight, these, Penrose contended, required something more than algorithmic processing. They necessitated a process that was fundamentally non-computational, a process that, he provocatively suggested, must involve quantum mechanics. Now, quantum mechanics is the notoriously weird and wonderful physics of the very small. At these subatomic scales, particles don't behave like the definite solid objects of our everyday experience. Instead, they can exist in a bizarre state of superposition, simultaneously occupying multiple states or locations at once, like a wave spread out in space. Think of it like a coin spinning in the air. It's neither heads nor tails until it lands. It's in a superposition of both. However, this delicate quantum superposition is inherently unstable. When a quantum system interacts with its environment, or is observed, it collapses into a single definite state. Penrose proposed a specific mechanism for this collapse, which he termed objective reduction, OR. Here's where Penrose's idea took an even more radical turn. He suggested that each instance of objective reduction wasn't just a physical event, but that it created a fleeting elementary moment of proto-consciousness, a raw, unrefined spark of experience. These quantum collapses, and their associated proto-conscious moments, he argued, are happening constantly, everywhere in the universe. In the air you breathe, in the table you might be sitting at, in the distant stars. They are, in a sense, the fundamental pixels of reality. But in most of the universe, these sparks are random, incoherent, like isolated notes in a cacophony. However, Penrose theorized, within the uniquely structured environment of the brain, something special could happen. These proto-conscious moments could somehow be orchestrated and integrated to give rise to the rich, unified stream of consciousness we experience. When Hameroff read Penrose's book, with its call for a quantum explanation of consciousness and its need for a biological structure capable of supporting and orchestrating these quantum events, a lightning bolt of recognition struck him. "He's talking about microtubules," Hameroff exclaimed to himself. The properties Penrose was looking for, shielded environments, regular lattice structures, capacity for quantum computations, seemed to align perfectly with what he knew about the complex architecture of neuronal microtubules. Wasting no time, Hameroff wrote to Penrose, outlining his own research and proposing that microtubules could be the very biological instruments Penrose's theory required, the structures that could harness and orchestrate these quantum collapses into coherent, meaningful, conscious experience. Imagine your brain as a vast symphony orchestra. Before the concert begins, each musician tunes their instrument independently. A violinist plucks a string, a flutist plays a scale, a drummer taps a rhythm. It's a chaotic, jumbled hum of individual sounds, much like Penrose's random proto-conscious moments. Then the conductor steps onto the podium, raises their baton, and with a downbeat, this cacophony transforms. The individual notes coalesce into a magnificent symphony, perhaps the intricate grandeur of Beethoven or the innovative harmonies of the Beatles. In this analogy, Hameroff and Penrose propose that microtubules are the conductors within our neurons. They take the fleeting, random quantum sparks, the proto-conscious moments arising from objective reductions within tubulin proteins, and orchestrate them, binding them together into the coherent, complex music of conscious thought and experience. This groundbreaking theory, born from the synergy of their distinct expertise, became known as orchestrated objective reduction, or Orch-OR. It was a bold attempt to bridge the seemingly unbridgeable gap between the physical, material brain and the intangible, ethereal nature of subjective awareness. What does this mind-bending idea mean for you, for your everyday experience of being alive? It suggests that your thoughts, your feelings, your very sense of self are not merely the product of electrical signals zipping between neurons like data in a computer. Instead, they might be a delicate, dynamic dance of quantum possibilities, a symphony of collapsing wave functions resonating not just within your skull, but perhaps, in some subtle way, with the quantum processes of the universe itself. How would it feel to truly perceive your mind not as a machine, but as a cosmic instrument, playing its own unique, unrepeatable melody in the grand, ongoing orchestra of existence? Does this idea resonate with those moments of profound insight or inexplicable connection that seem to transcend ordinary thought? Hameroff's audacious letter to the distinguished Sir Roger Penrose was not dismissed. Instead, it sparked Penrose's curiosity, leading to a pivotal meeting in Oxford. There, amidst the hallowed halls of academia, the anesthesiologist, with a deep understanding of cellular biology, and the physicist grappling with the quantum underpinnings of reality, began to weave their distinct threads of insight into a cohesive, revolutionary tapestry. Their collaboration was a testament to the power of interdisciplinary thinking, a fusion of seemingly disparate fields aimed at tackling one of science's oldest and most profound mysteries. In 1994, this collaboration took a public stage. Hameroff, by then a key figure in the burgeoning field of consciousness studies, organized the very first Toward a Science of Consciousness conference at the University of Arizona, an event that has since become a premier international forum, which he has continued to organize for over 3 decades, drawing thinkers from neuroscience, physics, philosophy, psychology, and even contemplative traditions. It was at this landmark conference that Hameroff and Penrose formally presented their joint theory, Orchestrated Objective Reduction, Orch-OR. They proposed that microtubules within our neurons act as sophisticated quantum processors. The tubulin, proteins composing these microtubules, they argued, could exist in quantum superposition, processing information in a way far richer and more complex than simple binary bits. These superpositions would then collapse, undergo Penrose's objective reduction, generating discrete moments of conscious experience. The orchestrated nature of these collapses, guided by the structure and dynamics of the microtubule network, would then bind these individual moments into the seamless, flowing stream of awareness we recognize as our own. This wasn't just a theory about how brains make consciousness. It was a theory suggesting that consciousness is a fundamental process linked to the very structure of space-time reality, which the brain learns to access and orchestrate. Now let's pause and consider the truly staggering implications of this. If consciousness arises from quantum processes that are, by their very nature, not strictly confined in the way classical objects are, then our awareness might not be rigidly imprisoned within the bony confines of our skulls. One of the most famously baffling features of quantum mechanics is non-locality, the spooky action at a distance, as Einstein famously called it. This principle suggests that entangled quantum particles can influence each other instantaneously, regardless of the distance separating them. If the quantum events in our brain's microtubules are the basis of consciousness, Could our minds in some way tap into a wider, non-local field of information or influence? Could consciousness itself possess non-local properties, allowing for connections and information access beyond the direct sensory input to our brains? This is where modern physics begins to echo the ancient whispers of mystics and philosophers. For millennia, thinkers from diverse traditions, from the ancient Greeks with their concept of a nous, or universal mind, to Eastern philosophies like Vedanta or Buddhism with their notions of interconnectedness and a universal consciousness, Brahman or Buddha nature, have posited that the individual mind is not an isolated entity, but is, in some profound way, connected to a greater, cosmic whole, a universal consciousness. These were often seen as purely spiritual or metaphysical ideas, but Orch-OR, with its quantum foundations, offers a potential scientific framework for exploring such possibilities. Think about those inexplicable moments in your own life. A sudden, powerful gut feeling that turns out to be uncannily accurate. An intuitive insight that seems to arrive out of nowhere, solving a problem that had stumped your logical mind. A profound sense of connection to another person, or to nature, that transcends words. Could these experiences be glimpses of our brains tuning into a deeper, universal frequency? A subtle resonance with a quantum field that permeates reality? Hameroff and Penrose's work doesn't just invite us to ask these questions. It provides a scientifically plausible, though still debated, avenue for investigating them. It challenges us to wonder, are we far more intricately connected to the cosmos and to each other than our everyday, classically minded perceptions allow us to believe? And if so, what untapped potentials for understanding, connection, and even wisdom might lie dormant within us, waiting for us to learn how to cultivate that deeper attunement? Fast forward from the theoretical ferment of the 1990s to the cutting edge of space exploration in 2023. Stuart Hameroff's highly unconventional ideas, often debated within the neuroscience community, found an unexpected and enthusiastic reception from a different scientific quarter. Dante Lauretta, a distinguished planetary scientist at the University of Arizona, was leading NASA's OSIRIS-REx mission. This ambitious project had successfully collected samples from Bennu, a carbonaceous near-Earth asteroid, and these precious extraterrestrial materials parachuted down into the Utah desert on September 24, 2023. As Lauretta and his team began the meticulous analysis of these ancient relics from the early solar system, he stumbled upon a research paper by Hameroff discussing the quantum origins of life and consciousness. Lauretta was astonished to discover that the author of this thought-provoking paper was not some distant academic, but a colleague working literally just across the university campus. "He's right across the street," Lauretta marveled quickly, arranging a meeting that would ignite a fascinating new collaboration, bridging the vastness of space with the intricacies of cellular life. The initial analyses of the Bennu asteroid samples yielded something truly extraordinary. When these ancient materials were exposed to ultraviolet (UV) light, they fluoresced. They emitted their own light. This fluorescence is a quantum optical phenomenon, and it indicated the presence of complex organic molecules, specifically aromatic amino acids like tryptophan and phenylalanine. These aren't just any amino acids. They are key components of proteins, including tubulin, the building block of microtubules. Furthermore, these aromatic amino acids possess ring-like structures, benzene rings, rich in pi electrons, which are known to be capable of supporting and processing quantum information. Lauretta and Hameroff, pooling their expertise, began to ponder a profound question. Could these fluorescent, quantum-capable amino acids, found in ancient asteroids, represent a crucial bridge between lifeless primordial chemistry and the very first emergence of living, perhaps even proto-conscious organisms? The imagery from the Bennu samples was tantalizing. Microscopic examination revealed tiny globules, hollow spheres formed from these organic molecules that looked eerily similar to what scientists imagine protocells, the earliest, most rudimentary forms of cellular life, might have looked like. Some of these globules even appeared to be budding or dividing, a process strikingly reminiscent of cell reproduction, a hallmark of life. These carbon-rich fluorescent structures, born in the harsh environment of an asteroid billions of years ago, hinted that the ingredients, and perhaps even the fundamental processes for life and consciousness, might not be exclusive to Earth, but could be widespread throughout the cosmos. This led Hameroff to propose a bold, potentially revolutionary experiment. Expose these Bennu samples, these protocellular structures, to various anesthetic gases. If their fluorescence, their quantum optical activity, dimmed or altered in direct proportion to the known potency of the anesthetics, as it does in living organisms, it would provide compelling evidence for a deep, ancient link between quantum processes in these fundamental organic molecules and the microtubule-like structures they might form, and the very origins of consciousness. This line of inquiry is a potential game-changer. It radically suggests that life and consciousness didn't arise as separate, sequential phenomena, with consciousness somehow emerging much later from already complex life. Instead, it implies they might be two inseparable sides of the same cosmic coin, co-emerging from the quantum properties of matter in the universe's earliest, most formative moments. Imagine, if you will, the first sparks of life flickering into existence not in some warm little pond on Earth, but perhaps within the protected interior of an asteroid or a comet billions of years ago. And imagine that this nascent life wasn't just chemically reactive, but was already humming with the same fundamental quantum potential for awareness that, billions of years later, allows you to read these words, to ponder your own existence, to feel awe at the vastness of the universe. How does it feel to consider that you are literally made of stardust, and that this stardust might have carried the seeds of consciousness from the very beginning? Does it alter your sense of cosmic significance, knowing that the capacity for awareness might be woven into the universe at its most fundamental level? The culmination of Stuart Hameroff's decades of research, from the microscopic dance of microtubules to the quantum whispers from ancient asteroids, points towards a truly profound and transformative conclusion. Consciousness isn't merely an emergent property of highly complex brains, a clever trick of computation, or some illusory byproduct of neural activity, as some materialist views might suggest. Instead, it appears to be something far more fundamental, something deeply woven into the very fabric of reality itself. Every living thing, from the simplest single-celled amoeba navigating its world to the majestic eagle soaring high above, from the silent rooted wisdom of an ancient tree to the intricate neural symphony within your own mind, resonates with these quantum processes occurring within their microtubules. This perspective doesn't just elevate human consciousness, it grants a measure of agency, awareness, and intrinsic value to all forms of life. It suggests that we are not isolated islands of awareness in a dead, unfeeling universe, but rather, we are integral parts of a vast, living, and profoundly interconnected, conscious cosmos. Picture yourself walking through a forest. According to this view, each tree, each plant, each insect, each microbe in the soil is not just a collection of chemicals, but a participant in this universal quantum symphony. The rustling leaves, the chirping birds, the silent growth of the mycelial network beneath your feet, all might be expressions of this fundamental awareness, vibrating with the same essential quantum processes that hum within your own neurons. This isn't just a poetic fancy, it's a scientifically grounded perspective that has the power to radically reshape our relationship with the natural world. It fosters a profound sense of unity, a deep ecological understanding that reminds us we are not separate from or superior to nature, but are inextricably entangled with it, part of a single, vast, conscious entity. This worldview carries with it a powerful ethical imperative. If all life possesses some degree of awareness, some spark of this universal consciousness, then it calls us to treat all living beings with a far greater degree of respect, compassion, and reverence. It challenges the anthropocentric view that places humans at the pinnacle of a hierarchy of value and instead promotes a biocentric or even cosmocentric perspective where all life has inherent worth. How might this idea change the way you interact with the world around you daily? Would you look at your pet with new eyes, understanding that its capacity for feeling might be rooted in the same quantum depths as your own? Would you feel a greater responsibility towards the environment, recognizing it not just as a resource to be exploited, but as a living, breathing, and perhaps even feeling extension of this cosmic consciousness? It's a call to move beyond a purely utilitarian relationship with nature and embrace one of kinship, stewardship, and profound wonder. For Stuart Hameroff, the decades spent immersed in the study of consciousness, navigating its complexities and controversies, have been far more than just a scientific career. They have been a source of immense personal and intellectual enrichment. "I can't imagine a more interesting and important topic," he often states, his passion palpable. His work, born from a moment of insight before a microscope, has blossomed into a grand vision that challenges us to see ourselves not as isolated biological machines, but as integral participants in a cosmic whole, our individual consciousness, resonating with the fundamental rhythms and quantum processes of the universe itself. This perspective isn't merely an intellectual exercise. It's deeply personal, an invitation to live our lives with an awakened sense of curiosity, a profound humility, and an ever-present awe at the sheer mystery and magnificence of existence. So, what is the ultimate lesson we can draw from Hameroff's extraordinary journey and his revolutionary ideas? Perhaps it is the profound importance of embracing the unknown, of daring to ask the biggest questions, and of relentlessly following our innate curiosity, even when the path leads beyond the comfortable horizons of established knowledge. Whether it's the intricate dance of a microtubule within a single cell, or the silent story told by an ancient asteroid fragment, the smallest, most overlooked discoveries can often unlock the grandest, most transformative truths. It's about cultivating a beginner's mind, a willingness to see the world anew each day, and to find wonder in the seemingly mundane. In your own life, this spirit of inquiry might manifest in myriad ways. It could be pursuing a passion that sets your soul on fire even if it seems impractical. It might mean having the courage to ask bold, unconventional questions, both of the world and of yourself. Or it could be as simple as taking a few moments each day to pause, to breathe, and to truly marvel at the incredible mystery of your own mind, your own awareness, this fleeting, precious gift of conscious experience. And so, dear friend, as we conclude this journey through the quantum symphony of consciousness, what sparks your curiosity now? What questions about your own awareness, your own connection to the universe, are stirring within you, waiting to be explored? Perhaps take a quiet moment today, not to seek answers, but simply to ponder the questions themselves. How might you begin to tune into the subtle quantum symphony of your own existence, to listen more closely to the whispers of your own inner universe? I sincerely wish you good health, a mind open to wonder, and a heart full of curiosity as you navigate this incredible, mysterious, and ultimately conscious universe we all share. If this story has resonated with you, if it has stirred your imagination or sparked new questions, please consider subscribing to our channel for more explorations that bridge the frontiers of science with the depths of human experience. Let's keep exploring these profound mysteries together, and who knows what wonders we might uncover.